Hey kids, Mr. Glenn here. Hope you are well. So we are going to be in something like this in a second. I'm going to show you real quick where we were at last time. So we had this with this container, and you can ignore this container for this moment because we're going to go and look at interactions and text on screen. So the text on screen is going to be to do with the beginning of the game. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go into here. We've got objects and interaction, and we are going to be looking at adding too many triggers into a game, so we can end up with too much happening if it isn't in the right order. We only want to have sort of one series, one object type. We're going to show you that in a second. So focus on that, keep it simple. Okay, so we need to go and look at our object sprites, so our little sprites, and how we're going to use those. We're going to have overlaps with layers, with players. We're going to show you that in a second. And then trigger or action with a message. Okay, so let's pop into our game here. Now I've moved the container that's here, I've moved it out of the way. And what I'm going to do is start to think about what's going to happen at the beginning of my game. I don't want my players, the people who are going to play the game, to end up being here straight away. As soon as they open up the game, you don't want your players coming straight into this. You need to give some kind of context. Okay, when you play old school games from history, let's say Mario, for example, it doesn't throw you straight into a game. It slowly builds it up, and that's what the whole splash screen and this is going to do. So let's take a look at what I'm going to go and do here. I'm going to go and change my colors, because what I would like to do is start to have different colors for different parts of the way that my game goes. And with that, I've got an extension. We can show you how to go and get that extension. And this helps you play with the colors inside our tile maps. Here's my character that I'm going to use. So this is our second part, is using our characters. We can use our characters as buttons. So when you come to a new part of the game, you can actually change your characters here inside the little buttons, and we'll show you what that looks like in a second. We can start to make our game look really good. We can start to give information. So we just want to go in that order of, here's the beginning of the game, this is some interaction into my game, and then we're going to go and start to play with the styles, and also just something simple so that we can give questions to our players, and then we can store parts of our game as we go through, and we start to store answers inside the game that we can give back to the player, and so that they feel ready to go into this game. So let's have a look to see what this is going to do. I want to go and put this before the game appears. So this is at the very, very, very top of the game. Okay, so we need a color extension. Let's go into our extensions first and grab a color extension. So in your home page here, if you try searching for color, it generally doesn't give you what you want, because you have an OUR, which is British spelling, but you need to go down and find color fading. So go and click it, add the extension like this. I'll go and download it. So I already have it here, and then I go into my color, and you can see that I can start to really sort of play with the colors. Okay, so I can use these colors here. Now, what are these colors? Let's go into assets, and I'll show you what these colors are. Inside your assets here, they are all fixed to one color palette. If you go to your colors here, you can change your colors, and so the basic default one is arcade. But you can see there are many different styles here that have different shades, and they can make them darker, lighter, brighter, and you can have different color palettes based on whatever these materials here are. So this kind of gray color here in arcade is there. That color changes into all these colors here, and you can see that they can become dark if you change into steampunk. Okay. The color extension allows you to change things individually as your game goes along. Okay. So I'm just going to go break this apart. I'm going to change my color palette into steampunk, and that steampunk will change the color into that. Okay. And it means that I can start to give some flavor as to what I want my game to look like. Okay. So at the beginning of my game, I'm going to go and have long text, and I'm going to go and have an introduction to my game. Okay. So when I have a long text, I can go and put some text in, and then I can edit this, and I can say whatever I want to say to my players, and I can say where I want it to actually go. Okay, so if you go center like this, I can actually get it to go full screen. I can make it sit anywhere at any side. And inside that text, you get a full frame like this. So the frames can be changed, and you can go and get the frames from inside here. So I'm going to go and just drop the frame at the top so it knows what to do with the frame before I put the text in. And of course, I get all this from inside the game section. And if I just roll down to the bottom, I've got dialogues which are there. And you notice that the frame, if I go and put this into center, you can see that the frame actually appears, but it's inside this steampunk color. So you can change the steampunk color to anything that you want. It's entirely up to you how you change that. Okay. Now the text, of course, the text here is really off. So I can go and change my text. I can change the font as well. So if I go into game and go and get set dialog color 2, and I can go and put the colors in here. And if I want it white, for example, I can get it to be white, and I get it to sort of really stand out. Right, next. Once I go into these different parts, I can then go and add lots more in this start container as to what kind of style I want my game to feel like. So if I go full screen here and I click on my A button here, let's just go and refresh this. So then it says, are you ready to play? And then I've got my little character here. So at the moment, if I just come out of this, you can see that my dialogue cursor is here. I'm going to go and set my dialogue cursor to be there too, so that I can go and get this in the right order. And then here's my little character that I've got. There's my character on every frame. And I can change the character to whoever I want, and I can get a really lovely feel to my game. Hit A, and you just tell the player that you're ready to play, and you can go into here. Now it's still really fast. That's the problem. It's really fast and still too fast to go into the game. So what I want to do is have something that is to do with my game at the very beginning, before the whole game begins. And I can do that with just having some questions for my characters. So there's my container from before. So I'm going to go and think about my cutscenes. So we had some cutscenes in the previous session. So my cutscenes, I can go and get a cutscene at the very beginning of my game. So I'm going to go and put this into here. So I'll change my color again. It says, before we play, we need to know what's next. And I've got a question here. Can you answer these questions or this question correctly? Okay, you can give your players a question before you begin. And what I'm going to do then is, as I go into play my game, before we play, you need to know what's next. Can you answer these questions correctly? Okay, and I hit A. And then before it goes into the game, I want that little cutscene to pop into it, and then it's going to take my players into like a little side channel, and then we can go and start a cutscene, which is just there. And I've got a pause in now. I don't really need that for the second. But same as last lesson. In the last video, I start cutscene, and then I print the character, and then this time I put a label on it called intro. I could just put the full word in there, introduction. Let's really quickly go through this. Now I know that when the words go on the screen, there is some background noise, and it goes like a video printer. And the text, that noise takes my sound away, so I didn't speak just then. So you'll notice that when it goes into the cutscene, it gives me the print character, and then what I can do, I can give the question right there and then, and I can go into the game and I can make it pause. So if I put the pause in there, I can now get my text to pause and wait while it's on the screen. Remember also that you can duplicate this again, so you can get it to go onto the screen more than once, and you can get it to pause in between. So you can stack these things up according to what kind of style you want to happen and what you want to happen for your players beforehand, okay? So I'm going to go and ask them a question, and then I can ask specific things, and then the answers get stored inside the game. Now, when you experiment with this, what may occur is that these don't behave as you want them to, and that's totally fine. You can pull this out and you can start to change this with other blocks that will ask the same things. So what we've got two options here, and I've doubled them up. Okay, you may find that the behavior of the writing does certain things, and that's for us to sort of work out, but there are workarounds. These can be doubled up so you get them in multiple times. So if I go full screen here and just refresh the game and just put it through the paces. Now when the text comes up, I will sort of stop talking and just watch the text, and then you'll see that it plays it and then plays it again. So let's just So if I stop that, you can see that you can put the text up. So maybe you can put it one more time if it's long text like that. Now what it's doing is asking you a question, and we now need to find a way of storing those answers, but give the player an option, yes, no, maybe, or you can have multiple options. And then based on that answer, it's going to be stored in the game, and then it's chosen for whatever's going to happen next. So you have it if this, then that. Okay, so let's go and check this out using the story options. And then inside the story options, you can see that we have a menu that's going on here. And you'll see also that there is the hexagon, which means that you have the logic that's going to happen here. So we can go and put this into action right now. Let's go and grab player choices, and then we can go put player choices underneath, and we can just pop in yes or no, like that. And then we've got the option then to be stored into the game. Let's go and see the game, and you can see that the options will be here. Let's go and refresh it. And again. And then you get options like this, and so you can go into yes or no, so you go up or down. And you can see it on my keyboard, up or down. I'll just go no, and then the answer is now stored in the game, and we need to go and do something with that data. So let's take a look at what's happening next. So once the data is stored inside the variable, it's ready to use the text inside the variable. I'm going to go and use that variable now, that yes or no. And so this option is the data that's stored inside the game. So here we've got no, then print well done, you're ready. And you can put 2 lines of text if you want. So you can put well done, and then you can go and cut it out and just type in you're ready. We go and cut that out there. So you can split the text up. Print character, press A to continue, cancel all cutscenes, and then into the game. If they say yes, you can, and it's the wrong answer, you can reset the game and it goes back to the beginning. So let's see this final part, the beginning of our game, and how we've gone through this line of structure at the beginning of our game to make it more presentable to our players. Let's just go and refresh the game. Let's go full screen. Let's go through A, are you ready to play? Before we play, we need to know what's next. Another text. Options, no, and then you get the splash screen. Press A to continue, okay? So then you can wait for A to continue, or you can pause, or you can say whatever you want. Now you can just go and explore with some of those options. The text can be completely up to you, but the general structure is there. Colors, styles are entirely up to you. It's time for you to go and experiment and try it out for yourselves. And as always, good luck.